Sharon Van Smith. It is a delight to invite you back again to the Osher Lifelong Learning class on climate conversations. You were one of the biggest hit speakers when we were doing this live back a year or so ago. So thank you very much for arranging your time and your schedule to join us by recorded Zoom. Welcome.
Thank you, Ellen. I really enjoyed learning a lot from you and Tiffany at the OLLI classes when I took your class. And I'm really delighted to be able to share information today about what I see as possibly the best policy change we can make to get us to where we need to go with lowering carbon.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to share with us CCL and Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend. Class,
Okay.
Take notes.
Okay, if you'll give me a second, I will share my screen. Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. Basically, CCL views our legislation as a policy, not as what we call a solution. Solutions hinge a lot on the financial ability of those solutions to be viable. And we believe that if you do not fairly price carbon, you will never get to the point where the other solutions will be scalable. So I'm just going to kind of go through them now. I know I don't need to explain to you because Tiffany and Ellen have done a great job on this, but fossil fuel, gas, and coal, as you can see on this chart, have just shot up during my lifetime, the last 72 years, and they're just continuing to go up, and we need to change that. Carbon has never had the true price on it for all the damages it's done to the economy. In order to solve the climate crisis, we must make the price of fossil fuels honest. And here's a couple of quotes I love. We will not decarbonize the future unless we deprivatize carbon, and we need to move big and fast because winning slow is the same as losing. If we don't properly price greenhouse gas emissions, our toolbox of solution remains locked. That's what I was referencing before. Many things such as pulling carbon out of the air, they're exciting solutions, but until you get the price of carbon up to around 200 a metric ton, they're not even viable. The legislation specifically that I'm in support of is the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, which is HR 763. It was originally introduced in 2018 and then again in 2019. And there are 82 sponsors right now. Basically, this is how it works. We charge a fee on fossil fuels at the source. This is the mine, the wellhead, or the port of entry if it's, say, foreign fuel coming here. This fee is then collected, is put into a trust fund, and 100% of the net revenue is returned to households as a dividend. And these dividends are paid to people that have a social security number or an identity number. These are people that are legal residents or citizens of the United States. Now, another two parts of this is we have a border adjustment, and this makes the US products be on a level playing field with other countries. Because right now, 40 other countries are putting a price on carbon. So those countries, we will take that into account when they're coming into this country. But for the other countries that aren't doing so, they will have to pay an adjustment fee. Also, it limits regulatory adjustments. And this is something that can be a little controversial. In our talks with legislatures, we have found this is kind of the main stumbling block for them. Basically, right now, there are no active US regulations on CO2 emissions. This proposed legislation would preserve effective current legislation like auto mileage standards, but pause EPA authority to regulate CO2 and equivalent emissions covered by the fee for the first 10 years after the policy is enacted. If after 10 years, we're not making gains in reducing the carbon fee, the carbon in the atmosphere, then the EPA will enforce CO2 emission standards. Congress has given a clear direction in this law to regulate through the EPA these emissions to meet the target. The pause does not impact EPA regulations related to water quality, air quality, health, or other issues. We feel this policy's price on carbon pollution will lower carbon emissions far more than existing and pending EPA regulations. We honestly do not feel like we can regulate our way out of this crisis we're facing. The cost factors, this is also a concern. Based on government data, we calculate that the first year carbon fee of $15 per metric ton of CO2 equivalent will raise gasoline by 16 cents per gallon, raise natural gas by 9 cents per therm, raise heating oil by 18 cents per gallon, and raise electricity by 0.6 cents from that to 1.4 cent per kilowatt hour, depending on whether it's generated by natural gas or coal. Electricity from renewables or nuclear plants, like we have some of our energy here in South Florida, will not see as big an increase. And the way this is structured, we start at $15 per metric ton, and each year we go up by $10. And this gives industry and individuals a chance to make the adjustments in how they're utilizing carbon-based fuels so that they can make the shift to these other renewable sources. We see this as beneficial and good for people. One of the concerns about rising prices on fossil fuels is how will this impact low and moderate income people? To me, this is what really makes me excited about this legislation and what makes me a supporter of this legislation, because all the fees collected are divided up and sent out to households in the US. Adults get a full share, children under 19 get a half share. So families will start getting a check every month. And the way the legislation's written, they will receive the first monthly check the month before the legislation takes full effect. And what we have seen through independent researchers who have audited this plan, they say that over 60% of the people, the households in the United States, will get back more than they are giving up on the higher prices. And this is really important for low and moderate income families. This will give them more money for food, school supplies, help in paying their bills. For those of us fortunate and privileged enough to be able to go on cruises and take jets places, we're going to be paying a little more. So it will probably impact us more in the pocketbook. But for the vast majority of Americans, this will be a plus. It's also a job creator. Right now, today, there's an estimated $240 billion in annual cost from environmental and health harms of fossil fuels. We see a future where over 10 years, 2.1 million jobs are created, because as the price of carbon slowly escalates, utility companies, businesses are going to be moving for a cost-saving solution, and that's going to be renewables. We see this also as effective. It's forecast to have 40% less carbon emissions over the next 12 years, and by 2050, 90% less. This is the strongest program for doing that to meet our goals that the IPCC has set. CCL itself, we're 477 different groups throughout the country. We're in every congressional district. We have more than 194,000 supporters. We even have international chapters, 119 chapters. I believe it's 26 countries we're in. So this is an international movement, not just a national movement. And what we firmly believe in is we need to come together in a bipartisan fashion to address this. We cannot be polarized and get this. This isn't a Democratic problem or a Republican problem. This is a problem for all of us. And we really feel by putting our hands across the aisle here, we can do this. Here in Florida, we have a Republican Congressman, Francis Rooney, who is one of the strong supporters of this bill and a co-sponsor, Ted Deutsch, who introduced it, who's a Democrat. And we also have Alcee Hastings, Al Lawson, and our own Frederica Wilson from South Florida that have endorsed it. And what we do is we have meetings twice a year in Washington with our congressmen and women, where we in person meet with them and talk with them. We also send them, deliver to them letters from the constituents in their districts so they know this is important. We also reach out to chambers of commerce, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis. We really try and engage people. So I'd really like to encourage you to find out more about our organization, join with us. We need concerned people. And those of us who are lucky enough to be retired right now, we have the energy and time to put into this. And just quickly, we do all these different things. Letters to the editors, working with organizations, like I mentioned, the Grass Top Engagement. And we try to develop our group, and we in Miami are the Ground Zero chapter. And we usually meet at the University of Miami. And here's part of our team. This is after we were successfully at Miami City Hall, and the City of Miami endorsed our legislation. City of South Miami was the first one too. So we're very happy with that, and continue to look for endorsements and other people that are interested in helping us. So I hope perhaps maybe you're inspired.
Sharon, that was great. Thank you.
You know, the one thing I thought of as I was going through it.
Yeah, wait, you're still recording. Hang on.
Oh,